There's a guy who is a lefty. I should say was a lefty. Then he did his own homework and changed his thinking and changed his life. I just started reading his new book, The Secret Knowledge, The Dismantling of American Culture. I've only read the first couple of chapters. When I usually come to you and say, I've only read a couple of chapters of a book, it's usually a sign of, and I'm not going to read more than a couple of chapters. If I wasn't launching GBTV tonight, I would have had this book finished by now. This guy, wildly, wickedly smart, major liberal. He wrote Glengarry Glen Ross, major force in Hollywood. And now he's reading von Mises and The Road to Serfdom. This is a guy who actually did his own homework. And I am proud to say he is here to speak the truth. The author of The Secret Knowledge. On with us now. David Mamet, Pulitzer Prize-winning author of Glengarry Glen Ross. David, you realize you will never win an award ever again in your life.
Oh, that's okay. My good friend Sidney Lumet just died. I knew him very well. I did a movie with him, and he never got nominated for an Oscar, one of the great directors of all time. And he said it was because he lived in New York. He said, when I call a realtor in Beverly Hills, they'll nominate me for an Oscar. But he wanted to make movies in New York, so that's what he did. Small price to pay.
So, David, what was it that first started to open your eyes?
I think, a lot of things happen. It's like when you hear a word once you've never heard before, and you hear it three more times the same day. I began to be aware of the pervasive animus in the West against the state of Israel. And as a serious Jew, I found that profoundly upsetting, and searched for the roots of it and found a lot of it had to do in the secular humanism and the rejection of religion, and that concomitant with the rejection of religion on the left is the rejection of the notion of the nation state. The two of them go right together, and that the nation state that we on the left are rejecting is unfortunately our nation state, the United States. And the more I looked, the more I saw that the culture was being dismantled in the service of good ideas, and that we'd seen such behavior before and great success among the Nazis and among the communists.
Listen, you paused for a second before you said that. Why?
I did before. I don't know.
Okay. I didn't know if you were pausing for if you paused because you were thinking, geez, do I go this far and say this? Because I've had a lot of heat for saying the same thing now for the last couple of years. And I think Israel is the keystone to the West, and people don't understand that.
I heard you say that I listen to you every morning. I heard you say that last week, and just made my heart swell. You say that as Israel grows, so grows the world, and I stand for Israel.
Yeah, it's absolutely true, and people don't really understand that, and they also don't understand that. Did you hear today that? Did anybody on this staff here today that in Egypt they've just officially made the Muslim Brotherhood, I'm not kidding, the Peace and Justice Party?
Yeah.
I mean, what's happening here, we have seen happen over and over and over again. In Israel, they're starting their own Nazi party. This is hatred for the Jews, coupled with the hatred for the West from the enemies of America over in the Islamic world, coupled with the hatred on of the West from the left here in America and all around the world. I mean, it's an amazing combination that nobody wants to point out for some reason, David.
Well, I know, but the people of my generation, I was born right after World War II, would look back at and say to our parents, our dads were all in the service, how was it allowed to happen? How was it allowed that the 30s were allowed to breed this filth that led to the devastation of World War II? And we see the answer around us here today. It was allowed to happen little by little.
So, David,
yeah,
you started this journey. You started to see this, and then what did you do? Take us through your journey of going from a guy who was a liberal to where you are now.
Well, I realized I'd never actually thought about politics, that the milieu in which I grew up was politicians are all corrupt, but the Republicans are more corrupt than the Democrats. At least the Democrats are out to do good. And as I got a little bit older and went through, raised a bunch of children and went through a bunch of businesses, I saw that nobody liked the liberal policies when it came time to pay the rent, to pay the taxes, to hire or fire employees, to invest for the future. Nobody liked them. Everybody acted as a capitalist, and yet half the country voted for the continuation and the inflation of these policies, which they knew were destructive. So the question why fascinated me.
So, and then you pick up the road to serfdom?
Well, I had the good fortune to meet a couple of conservatives, and I said to them, I just don't understand. I don't understand what you're talking about. And they said, okay, well, let me give you a couple books. And among them were, I think, Shelby Steele's book, White Guilt, and Hayek's The Road to Serfdom. And then John Voight gave me a copy of Witness by Whittaker Chambers. And then I was hooked. I said, I got to figure this out. How long has this been going on?
When you decided you knew the truth and you took it, what was it? You wrote an editorial. What was it, for The Nation or?
Oh, it was for the Village Voice.
Village Voice, that's right.
Yeah.
And what did you write?
It was called Political Civility. I had a play on Broadway, which was a comedy about politics, about Oval Office comedy. And the Village Voice asked me to write an essay. So I said, the essence to me of politics, as my rabbi teaches, is we have to be civil with each other. We first have to be able to state the other guy's position such that he will say, yes, that's what I mean, and he has to say it for us, and then we each adduce our facts, and we agree upon the facts. And when we've done those two things, then we can progress to an argument. But that was not how politics was carried out in the United States of America, but it should be. I said because we're all human beings, and to say, yes, Bush may or may not have outed Valerie Plame, you can also say Kennedy left 3,000 CIA members to die at the Bay of Pigs. Or that you could say that maybe Bush lied about his National Guard Air Service, yes, but you could also say Kennedy probably lied about his Pulitzer Prize for Profiles in Courage, and down the line, that we have to stop expecting our leaders to be perfect and expect them to be responsible.
So what change has this made in your life?
Well, Shelby Steele was interviewed about, and we're friends, and he said, I think Dave's a lot happier now. I think I'm a lot happier now. In fact, I am a lot happier now because, as Dennis Prager says, I prefer clarity to agreement.
May I ask you this?
Sure.
I went to a fireside, a talk here in New York on Sunday, and there was a rabbi that was speaking, and somebody raised their hand and they said, why is it that there are so many Jews that won't stand up for Israel? And he answered that. And I haven't heard a real good answer on that. And then they said, the next question is how come so many Jews will not, they won't connect with interfaith projects? This guy had the greatest answer I think I've ever heard. I'd never thought of it this way before. As a Christian, yeah. I never thought of it this way. He said, we don't really trust a lot of people. We've been people have been trying to baptize us or kill us for about 2,000 years. Yeah. And I kind of, thought to myself, wow, yeah, that's good. And he said, when we can get to a point to where you can look at somebody of any faith and say, I'm not trying to convert you. I respect you and your relationship with God, and I don't need to baptize you or convert you or anything else. I respect you, and I stand with you not because of some end of times philosophy, but because it's the right thing to do for another human being. He said, I think we'll have a great conversation. I think that's one of the lowest bars to make a jump over that I've ever heard in my life. If we can't do that, we can't do anything. Would
Well,
you?
I tell you what, I think the guy's full of it. I don't think Jews are frightened of that, and I think that it's so obvious that the American Christians and American Christian right, especially, are the best friends of the Jews, and the generosity of these two groups continues to astound me, and the whole idea that they just want to defend Israel because they know that they don't the Messiah won't come is like saying, oh, you know what? That girl just wants to go to bed with me because she wants sexual satisfaction. It's absurd. I mean, here the.
Well, I believe that could be said about Congressman Wiener's relationships, but not all relationships.
I mean, see, that's to me, Glenn. That's very much a tactic of the left, rather than to look at proposals and results, to question the other people's motives. Say, I've never, I've met a lot of Christians. I'm indebted to a lot of Christians for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is the support. Far in excess of American Jewish support of the state of Israel. God bless them. That's a courageous thing to do. And it's a moral and a good thing to do. Do you think that there are going to be people in Hollywood that are going to wake up pretty soon? Do you see anybody waking up? I mean, are the events of the day starting to compile and peel the scales off of people's eyes at all, or are they still dead asleep? No, they're dead asleep. Because look, it's like people said of the Nazis that the Nazis made everyone participate in atrocities, because once they participated in atrocities, they couldn't go back. They couldn't change their mind. And the left is not committing atrocities, but they're committing absurdities, and it creates the same group cohesion. That once you've been saying for 45 years, we need more regulation, we need more government, we need to alleviate poverty by raising taxes, there's too much waste, the earth is warming, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You've committed yourself in your life to be able to undo any addiction, whether it's addiction to idiocy, to sex, to pills, to drugs. You got to take it down to the bare paint and say, oh my God, what have I done? Can I have been that stupid and destructive? Because if you can't do that, you can't go on.
How's your professional life changed since your political change?
I don't know that it has. I'm working on 15 things at once. I'm doing plays and novels and books and movies and all of that stuff.
All right. I want to take a real quick break. Do I have time? You know what? Let me do it here. I just want to ask you real quick about printing money, because you've read The Road to Serfdom, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, you know von Mises. Tell me about printing money, because that's what we're doing now. How is this not helping us?
Well, it's just making everybody a little bit poorer. It's no different than the counterfeiters who used to shave gold. They take gold and they put 10 gold coins in a sack and shake it, and the abrasion would leave gold dust in. And then they give out the gold coins, and they kept some for themselves. The difference between the government and business is that business can't print money, and business doesn't have guns to make you pay taxes. So business has the capacity to go broke. And if they make enough bad decisions, they will go broke. Or if the technology supersedes them, doesn't matter how good the Erie Canal is, if the railroad comes in, you better get a new idea. But government can hold a gun to your head and say, give me more money for these failed programs. And if that's not sufficient, they'll just print money and make everybody a little bit poorer. And so that's what's happened to our country.
David, I welcome you to the fight on the right. I think this is a fantastic book. A book that I am going to finish. The first couple of chapters were just outstanding, well written, and just very smart. The Secret Knowledge on the Dismantling of American Culture. A reformed liberal. Somebody who actually challenged and read and said, I'm going to find the information out for myself, and did. The Secret Knowledge, available in bookstores everywhere.